everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Storytime. I need to change my shirt. Can't do multiple takes in one day, Zach. You gotta change the outfit. So, welcome back to Storytime. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about today. Also, I realized that I shouldn't pop my knuckles into the mic or it doesn't sound that great. So, you're welcome. I kind of don't want to, I have so many, big stories. I don't really want to be, in the juicy stuff. So, I know last video, we talked about how I almost died a lot of times when I was a kid. And my mom just, used to let me go out. We lived on, out in the woods, kind of. Our next door neighbor, you could see through, the tree line, but we had, a ton of trees on our property. And I would just go. And it's amazing because you can see in my last video where I went to Alaska and I saw my childhood home. I still remember where all the places were that I used to go. I used to be okay, go down this trail. This is where this is. Go down this trail. This is where this is. It's so weird how that stuff imprints on you. But whatever. Anyway, so let's talk about why I hate road trips. I wish I could do that cool effect where it pauses you and it's shing, road trips, but I can't. So imagine that. Growing up in Alaska is huge. You don't really get a grasp of how big it is until you're trying to drive around in it. So Alaska is a third the size of the United States. It is gigantor. Can we stop walking and being click-clacky, dog? What, you got tap shoes on? So, growing up in Alaska, you don't know how big it is. You don't realize how big it is, and you don't know that other states are not that size. Because you look at a map and you're like, oh, okay, this and this, that's the same size. No, not even close. So, Alaska is the size of Maine down to Florida over to Missouri. It's gigantic. That could be half the United States, so maybe Tennessee. Just that whole block is Alaska. It's huge. To get to the nearest town, so I grew up in a town called North Pole. We figured that out. And probably 30 miles away was a town called Fairbanks. Those two are the cluster of not normalcy, but that's where normal people live. You'd go out into a village and go to Nome or Prudhoe Bay or something, and I've never been to those places, so I'm just gonna assume that those people are really weird. And Valdez and Sitka, that stuff is just weird fisherman people. Because remember, I never fished. I almost said didn't smoke, didn't drink. I didn't fish, I didn't hunt, I didn't camp, I didn't do anything outside. I did nothing. I was the video game kid. That's where all my old Halo and all that other stuff was from. So when we were growing up in the church, there was it's almost like a boys and girls club, but in the church. And so it's called Awana. And what they did is they made it super fun. And they had what was called the Olympics, the Awana Olympics. So there would be just different games that you'd play. And it's marathons and running and relay races and agility races and stuff. So it's not anything weird how long can you balance this broom on your head? That's there's legitimate thought that goes into some of these games. How fast can you read a book, nerd? They don't have that. It's pretty cool. So they had tug of war, balloon relays, where you'd have everybody line up and you'd have your legs this and you'd push the balloon and the person in the back would run to the front, push the balloon through the legs, and people came up with strategies and a whole bunch of other stuff. One team would sit down when we were playing tug of war. They'd sit on their butt and their feet, and that way the other teams would just tire themselves out. And then once they did, they just got up and just pulled everybody. It was a very smart technique. And with the balloon relay, you'd have every other person grab it. It was insane. So in order for us to do that, we would do the Awana Olympics, but we would have to go to Anchorage, Anchor Town, A-Town, Dirty City, whatever you want to call it. That's where you would have to go. Now, Anchorage is about 360 miles south of where I lived. If you do the quick maths, that's anywhere between a 6 to 8 hour drive, depending on how fast you go. Mind you, you can't go that fast if it's winter and the roads are garby, and you can't drive that fast because the roads are this, because you're driving through mountains and you're driving through tundra and you're driving through just garbage. So I'm 99% sure that is how I got my hatred of car trips, because I would have to go with just like random people. So sometimes my parents were like, we're not gonna go, you can go. So what we would do is we'd have our church in North Pole, everybody would meet there, and we'd meet there stupid early, like 6 o'clock. I don't like doing stuff early in the morning. I'm like, yo, wake me up at 11, I'll be ready to go at 1. Like, I don't care if it's nighttime when we get in. So we get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I didn't eat breakfast. And this happened every single time. And it was only until like a year ago that I was like, yo, maybe you should start eating breakfast before you go. That way you have something in your stomach. So I was just a dumb kid. So what I did is we met at the church at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, I decided that time, one time, we'll go through multiple times. I decided to go through one time, and I would ride with my best friend. Now, people would drive their own personal vehicles. I remember it. It was like a 98 Volkswagen van or something. Like, it was just so old. Like, I can just see it. It's like the old body style, and it was like maroon red. And it had like a sliding door, and you'd get everybody in and to pile in. Now, the problem was that I didn't think about is, okay, it's going to take us anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to get to where we're going to go. And we don't really stop. They stop like once or twice for a bathroom break at like a gas station, and then you can pick up some food, and then that's pretty much it. So I was like, okay, cool, everybody pile in. Already feeling sick. Already have my pillow. Already trying to lay down. I had like a Walkman with like the anti-skip technology, I believe, in one of these trips. And it was like the garbage headphones. Like, there was no in-ear phones. It was like over the top with like just like the metal wire over the top. Like, it was, I'm old, okay? I'm old. So I was sitting in there, and right when I got in, I was like, I immediately regret this decision, because Lil Zach forgot that his dad was an aircraft mechanic. And when you're an aircraft mechanic, you smell like jet fuel, you smell like mechanicalness, you smell like tools. You don't smell, you have a unique smell. Like, it doesn't smell bad, it's just a unique smell. But old Bubble Guts over here decided to say, oh, okay, this is not a fun thing that's gonna happen for me, because I don't like this smell. I'm already in a nauseous state. I've already haven't slept the night before because I was nervous about this trip. And what do you know? Self-fulfilling prophecy. I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't eat, yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna have a horrible trip. I think like almost every single time I did that, almost every single time we went down to Anchorage, I threw up. Or I felt gross enough the entire time to throw up. I do remember one time, because I grew up playing baseball, we were going to like the championship, and we had to drive again, and I was eating carrots in the back, and my buddy beside me was listening to like Adam Sandler's stand-up CD, and I was listening to it. He was like, hey, listen to this, maybe you'll feel better. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. So I listened to it, and I was like, okay, this is making me nauseous. Like, I'm not paying attention to the road or whatever. So I was like, I'm sitting here, buddy's sitting here, my dad's in the front seat, the driver's here. And I was like, hey, we should pull over because I'm not feeling so hot. And as you know, as you do, when you throw up, it's always carrots, even if you didn't eat carrots. But I saw a ton of carrots that afternoon. It was the worst day of my life. I don't mind throwing up. I just hate car rides. If I'm not driving, I do not want to go on a trip. I get very motion sick. I don't like going on amusement park rides because I get motion sick. I go on roller coasters. I can decently handle a roller coaster better than just getting into a passenger seat. If somebody is driving, like if I got up right now and got into a passenger seat, I would instantly feel sick. And it's not fun. Like, Dramamine sometimes works, and it's even that way when I'm on an airplane. So we're going down a whole rabbit hole So on an airplane, I 100% get motion sick. I hate it. I hate going on an airplane. But I found out if you eat beforehand, it severely lessens those. Sometimes I don't because you have a connecting flight and yada, yada, yada. This past year, I've been traveling like crazy. I went to Boston, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Vegas. Like I went to all these places. And I started to get used to flying. But I'm always that person that right when the plane lands, I'm standing up and I'm trying to move towards the door. Like, right when that ding, you're now free to move about the cabin. I'm up and I'm moving ahead 5 or 6 rows because I get extremely anxious and I get extremely claustrophobic. So next time you see somebody standing up immediately and trying to leave as fast as they can, don't judge them. They could be feeling like garbage because that's what I did every single time. And I wouldn't get a seat near the front of the plane. I'd get a seat over the wings because statistically, that's the best place to be so you're not, hanging out. Or so you don't get motion sick because you're on like the fulcrum. So every time we land, it's just jump up. Hey, okay, I'm done. And I normally get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows ahead before somebody else stood up and they were like, where am I? You're on a plane. Get your stuff. Get out. Like, I get so angry on airplanes. But that's another story. Ooh, that reminds me. This is going to be a great story. So that's kind of all why I don't do trips. Like if somebody says, hey, we're going to drive to, Las Vegas. Las Vegas is only like a 5-hour trip. San Diego's only like a 5-hour trip from here. Like it's not bad, 4 to 5 hours, depending on how fast you drive. And they say, hey, we're going to go. I'm flying. I'll meet you guys at the hotel. Like I will spend the $120, $130 to fly there, get there in half an hour, and just be there and not have to worry about it. But anyway, so talking about planes, I think there is one plane ride that I did not get sick on, and it is called a military hop. If you're not familiar on what a military hop is, it's freaking awesome. What you do is the military says, hey, apparently that's the voice for the military. Hey, we need to take a plane and we need to go to this place. If you want to go to this place, just jump on. So it's only like $20 or something for like an airplane ticket. So my parents, being amazing and in the military, they were like, yo, here's the deal. We got a military hop. We're going to go on vacation. And we were like, what? Me and my sister were like, what? Mom and Dad, you too good to us. Where are we going? And they were like, guess what? 2 words, Hawaii. And we were like, oh my God, we're going to Hawaii. Boom, day of comes. We run to the airport. We don't run. We use our dog sled team because we grew up in Alaska. Dog sled team, polar bear, eagle. That's how you take, I'm just kidding. It's not what you do. We got into our car, a Honda Accord, and we drove. So, got to the airport, or we got to the military base, you park your car, and they're like, surprise, load on up. And I was like, okay, what are we flying in? Boom, an AC-130. And I was like, that's amazing. We're gonna fly in this gigantic airplane. And they were like, yeah. I think it was an AC-130. It was the big one with like the 4 propellers and like the cargo. Like it was insane. And I was like, okay, cool. So we get inside. Kid you not, no seats. There's none of this. There's no luxury on an AC-130. I'm gonna call it an AC-130 just because that's Modern Warfare in my head. I'm gonna find out what it is. I think it is an AC-130. It might be a KC-135. Yeah, C-135. Did I say C-135? Yeah, AC-130. No, AC-130. So I'm going to say KC-135. If you look it up, it looks pretty much like that, I believe. That's kind of what it didn't have propellers. Why was I thinking propellers? It has like jet engines. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. KC-135. Look it up. That's what I was flying on. I was like, okay, cool. We got inside. Nothing. Bare freaking bones. You know those like videos that you see when people are jumping out of the back of airplanes? That's what it looked like. And I was like, okay, this is tight. So there I was with my little Dora the Explorer backpack or whatever the frick I had, maybe Ninja Turtles or something. And I was like, I'm going to Hawaii. And they were like, great, sit down and shut up. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Kid you not, you walk into the airplane. There's no seats going lengthwise. Like think of normal aircraft. Okay, there's seats, rows. No, all those seats, move them to the side. There's just seats lining the edge of this. There's no double seats. There's no anything. You're sitting shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder all the way down the length of the airplane. And you're like, oh, okay, that's not that bad. But wait, there's more. There's no seat cushions. There's no anything. All it is just like a nylon webbing that you're sitting on. And you're thinking, oh, nylon webbing? No, it's like nylon webbing. There's holes this big sitting where you are. It's just literally like straps. It's like somebody took a seatbelt and tried to make like a patchwork thing out of it. Like you can stick your arm through it. An adult arm could go through where you're sitting. Comfort is not the name of the game. And we're like, okay, whatever, that's not that bad. Mom, how long is it gonna take for us to go to Hawaii? 8 hours. Okay, hold up. I didn't know that this was a thing. On the map, it shows Alaska here, Hawaii here, which is gonna take us an hour. Wrong, Zach. Do your freaking math. It's gonna take 8 million miles to go to Hawaii. And so I'm like, okay, cue claustrophobicness. Bink! And I was like, okay, not that bad. Little Zach, I think it was in summer, was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, or just like a long sleeve thin shirt and pants. And I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. Surprise, surprise, a plane not built for comfort gets stupid freaking cold when you're going up 35,000 feet in the air. So there I am, seeing my breath, and I'm like, okay, 8 hours of this isn't so bad. I wonder what all these other people are doing. Because apparently, this was like a family vacation for everybody in the army, in the military. So there's kids, there's a bunch of stuff. So you have the adults sitting here. One important fact, we're taking cargo to Hawaii. So there's just boxes and stuff in front of you. You have about a 2-foot space in front of you, which is tight because you don't get that in normal airliners. And then you have just boxes of cargo with like the cargo strap net things over the top. And everybody's like, oh, okay, whatever. Kids are running around, kids are screaming. I was like, okay, this is like a playhouse. It's like an 8-hour playhouse. I got it, cool. And for some reason, I don't know what I did. Like there was no adults there. Because I wandered toward the back of the airplane. I was like, okay, let me just go see. And I'm just like, airplane. And I was like 12. So if I talk like that when I was 12, I had major issues, and I probably did. So I wandered to the back of the airplane, and I was like, okay, cool. And you know, the airplane would be, and we were just flying in the military thing. And I was like, okay, tight. Little Zach does his exploration. The tail of the plane's getting narrower and narrower, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then next thing you know, young Zach sees a light. And I'm like, why is there a light? Okay, you done with this story right now, bro? This is the good part. I can't believe you left me. I can't believe you've done this. So there's a light emitting from the back of the airplane. What is that, Zach? Oh my God, what is it? I'll tell you. I go down to the little thing. I look, I'm walking. And all of a sudden I see ground. And I'm like, well, that's not good. So I'm looking down and you guys are like, Zach, how are you seeing the ground? So the KC-135 is a refueling airplane. If you don't know what a refueling airplane is, the refueling airplane is the airplane that goes up in the air and pees on other airplanes to get them filled up with fuel. I didn't know that that's what we were in. So all I see is ground and I'm like, okay. So I climb down this ladder and I get into this pod that is like literally you lay down on your stomach here, you look this way, and nothing but glass. So I'm sitting in this bubble in the belly of the airplane, 35,000 feet in the air, and all I see is ocean. Because that's how long it took for me to figure this out. Just straight up ocean. There's clouds underneath us, and it's just ocean. And mind you, the reason why I said there was no adults, there was buttons. It's a fully operational refueling aircraft. And for some reason I was a genius and I didn't start touching anything because I was like, dude, this is sick. This is freaking sick. I can sit here for the next 6 hours. And all the kids, because I was rambunctious, all the kids were like, where's Zach? Let's go find him. So then I had all these other idiot kids in there with me. But it was amazing to be able to lay on your stomach, look out, and there was just nothing. I was on a bubble underneath in like pure glass, plexiglass, whatever, underneath an airplane traveling X amount of miles an hour X amount of miles over the ocean, because you go from Alaska, there's nothing but ocean till you get to Hawaii. There was nothing there, and it was just an amazing experience. Like, that's why I don't understand why there was no adults there, because I could have been like, fuel dump, like it was like fully operational. It's like sitting a kid in the space shuttle. Like, that's what happened. Or a fully functional airplane. Like, I don't get it. So that is the story of how I went to Hawaii, and I was in an air refueling airplane, and it was the freaking coolest airplane ride of my life, because no, like 1% of Americans maybe get that, maybe less than that. Who flies in the KC-135 air refueling airplane to go to Hawaii, to go have a vacation for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and gets to be in the little bubble that is just mind-blowing, because you can look out the little baby airplane window, but when you're laying on your stomach and there's nothing but glass, because they have to be able to see to refuel the airplanes. So it was amazing. So look at the KC-135 like fueling pod or something. You can figure it out. But look at that. That was my view. It was quite simply the best plane ride of my life. But I'm pretty sure that about does it for this episode of Storytime. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do like it, be sure to like this video. That lets me know that you like watching it. Be sure to share it to your friends if you think that they'd get a kick out of it. But I think that's pretty much it, man. You know, like the video, subscribe, do all that jazz. You guys know what to do. You're not dumb. You're not 12-year-old me in an air refueling airplane. You guys are adults. You know what to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, because I enjoyed telling it. It was amazing. Not a lot of people know that about me. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys are doing good in quarantine. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.